This is Bipolar Afterthoughts, and I'm your host, Liam Rosick. On this channel, we discuss various topics that go into mental health in one way or another. And I'm here with someone who I consider to be a friend, and she is an amazing actress. I've seen her in person. And why don't you introduce yourself?
I am Christine Hennis and used to live in the same area that you did,
Mhm.
well, and Liam. Uh, but now I moved to LA in 2019 because my daughter goes to American Musical and Dramatic Academy. And I feel like when we moved here, I just finally found my tribe.
That's great. That's such a great feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, what was the decision to move to LA? Was it inspired by your decision to be an actress?
Um, if it was just that, I would have done that a long time ago. I'm 56 years old, going to be 57 in a few months. And, I started to be interested in acting when I was about maybe 7 years old. I'd,
Wow.
uh, I, I was an only child growing up, and I would be outside playing on my bike, jumping on my pogo stick, doing all those 70s types things kids do. And every once in a while, I'd just find some household product and bring it outside, like copper tone tanning oil, and I'd create my own commercial.
Class.
So with nobody, and I'd stand there and talk to the air. And we didn't have devices to record ourselves back
Right.
then. So I'd be like, try copper tone, blah, blah, blah. And, you're going to get a great tan. But as I as I grew up, let me just share with you, I'm on the autism spectrum. So I'm kind of quirky, I guess, perceived by some and maybe most. Uh, and I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Chicago. So being an actor back then and being the type of person I was very quiet and very reserved. Not necessarily back then it would be called shy, but I think my brain just works differently. So the thought of putting myself out there in front of people, it wasn't about shyness. It's just that I would get so emotionally overwhelmed and the sensory issues that I would immediately start crying. Tears would just well up in my eyes if I were to try to perform in front of people that I didn't know. So it just wasn't even an issue. And in the Midwest, people aren't really encouraged to, as a norm, to go out and be actors.
That's
You
that's
might, yeah.
that's really fascinating, actually, because when I met you back when we lived in the same area, it was due to you doing an improv group. So how did you work past that emotional balance? You know, find the right emotional balance. Did you?
Well, again, as a kid, we were raised to be seen and not heard. And so I had to get past that. It took a lifetime to get past that whole concept that I could have a voice and that people did were interested possibly in hearing what I had to say and seeing me perform. In your own family, you don't really get that kind of support that you need all the time. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, that your own family sees you differently than the typical public would see you. They see you every day and they really don't know or realize the kind of encouragement that you need. And, I can't fault them for that necessarily. I think every family just deals with that. But as I nurtured that, and it wasn't that I was living vicariously through them, but they have this natural innate ability to entertain and to perform, and a great gift and talent in each of them. So when I saw that in them, I cultivated, nurtured, tried to encourage in positive ways and help them to achieve the goals that they want to achieve and help them to become more independent in those decision-making processes. And for me, just being in the theater, my grandfather was a radio announcer, so I kind of have it in my blood.
It seems so.
And so I just naturally being in that environment, people would ask me, they would say, "Oh, you should audition for this." And I'm like, no, 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 no. And until my kids were at a point where they could handle being on their own and being autonomous, being responsible for their own behavior, I wouldn't want to go to a theater environment and then also act alongside my child, but have my child not behave well or not be able to function like they would expect. So I kind of waited until they were at an age that I could trust that they could do okay on their own, and then I started pursuing it for myself.
That makes a lot of sense. And may I say that it seems you've done a great job with that with your children, from what I know. And that line that you said at the beginning of that, which was to be seen and not heard.
Mhm.
Wow. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, especially people with mental disabilities, which I don't even really like to call them that, if I'm being honest. But
It's just a different way of processing, and their challenges in life. Their challenges because of culture. Their challenges because people don't quite understand how to address them. And it's more of a disability on the part of the person who's not experiencing it, because they aren't equipped to be a support system to you.
of course, yes, I can relate to that in different ways, of course. Um, well, and also being a woman, I
Mhm.
imagine that is even exacerbated further, to be seen and not heard, and especially in the film industry. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it started even before I got into um, the film industry or entertainment or broadcast or whatever. Um, from the time that I have been working in any industry for that matter, I have a degree in marketing and a degree in fashion merchandising. Um, in an employment situation, I've had to fight for every piece of ground that I've had. I got fired for having a baby.
Oh,
I have been sexually harassed. I have been discriminated against in multiple work settings. I was told at one job interview when my daughter was 2 that I should be home taking care of my children and my husband. This was from a major corporation. I'll name the name of the corporation, Medline. You look it up. It's a major corporation. I was told that I should go home and take care of my children. I drove home from that interview sick to my stomach. That we could be living in a world in 2004, 2005, roughly around that time, that was still happening. So I've had to fight for every inch of ground that I've achieved, and been perceived as being a bitch for doing so. I've just recently had a situation where I was cast in a film, then offered my support wholeheartedly to the director and producer, and was having a very innocent conversation about just what he envisioned for the film, and how we were perceiving things, and turned around and got lambasted for just being supportive. He felt threatened. He felt like I wanted to take over his project, which I didn't. It's really hard to be good at what you do, professional, and not have people feel threatened by it. So I've started my own projects. I've been a creative director for 31 years, being in the marketing profession. I was a creative director when I first started out, and produced commercials in the Chicago area that have appeared on network television. And then along the way with raising kids, I got involved with independent film, and I thought that was a way to really kind of explore my creativity. I'm a writer as well. And so I know the ins and outs from the back end to the behind the camera in producing film. And then slowly but surely, just found some small roles here and there. It's kind of hard for an older actor, actress to to find roles that are not just mom roles.
I've heard of that. I have heard of that. And it's so unfortunate. Everything you just said really is unfortunate, other than it goes to show just what a force you are. And you being a bitch obviously is a good thing. You need to be that to be in this industry, you know. And through all of that, why do you keep doing it? I mean, besides it being in your blood, besides, you know, all of that innate stuff that you just feel you need to do it. If it, why do you do it? I mean, does it?
Yeah. Well, if you stop breathing, um, within maybe 30 to 60 seconds, the quality of your life starts to diminish, right? Like you stop breathing, you're like, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling lack of oxygen. My brain cells are diminishing. That's
Right.
kind of how I feel with not being involved in any creative processes. If I were on an assembly line, I've done dirty work. I was a shipping clerk. I was a cocktail waitress. I was, you name it. I was an accounting clerk. I've done it, and you know, you can get by on it. You can earn a living at it, but I didn't find joy in that. And I find incredible joy in being involved in the creative process. Collaboration. Oh my gosh, it's going to bring tears to my eyes to just, when I talk about collaboration, it means people getting to work together and respecting each other and really genuinely caring about the well-being and the growth of another person. So I get off on stuff like that. I mean, that's what makes me feel alive, is to be able to be involved in stuff like that.
I get that a lot. I also share a passion for acting, not nearly as much as you do, I can tell, but I do share that passion in some capacity, and I definitely I want to be a writer. You know that about me,
Yes.
and I feel the same way. If I don't write, then my quality of life decreases, like I'm holding my breath. Is there any project that's upcoming that you're excited about having been a part of that you can tell, or anything?
Yeah, I've got a few projects in the works. There's always multiple plates spinning, and um, there's kind of this hell that we all, as actors and filmmakers, are in once you get started, and that's post-production hell. When you finish a project and you're waiting for um, sound editing, getting it all wrapped up and put into a package. So I'm in post-production hell on a few projects. Just finished a short film called Pain Relief with a very good friend of mine. I just met him pre-pandemic when we first moved out here, John Picarito. He is a fellow Sicilian. That's how we bonded, and we have been best buds ever since. And we are constantly looking for projects to work on together. And lo and behold, a few months ago, we discovered a young filmmaker, Alex Chandler, who was working on a student film, and genuinely a labor of love. We jumped on. He cast us both after seeing our auditions, and oh gosh, what a joy it was to work with him. He's a young filmmaker, still in school, I think for about another year, but he submitted this project, and now he's going to be submitting it to film festivals this summer.
I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of other films in the works as well. We've got Number 3 Special, which is in post-production hell right now. So I'm patiently waiting. I hear here we're working on sound on that, but that was a project that my husband and I both worked on as the principal characters. And we were excited to bring in new actors, and one of the actors that worked on that that is going to appear in that was in the film version of In the Heights.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And he was just amazing. He was this last minute blessing. We also met pre-pandemic. We were going to be roommates, and we met over the internet. You know how we met. You know how
Yeah.
you and
Yeah.
I met. Well, we kind of met like that too. And I am like this networking crazy woman. I just love networking with people and like encouraging them. And so we kind of Jeremy Adam Ray, he came from New York, and I just think he's an amazing dancer and actor. So I just put his name out there. Hopefully it'll appear and people will look him up. But he was such a joy to work with. Some other actors that I worked with, maybe I'll when you post this, I'll kind of tag them and
That'd be great.
get some
Yeah.
good press for them.
You're so good at being articulate and knowing what to say and how to say it, that comes with some practice.
Oh my gosh, as a kid, yeah, the kid me, if I could give my past self advice, it would be don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to cry when you're talking, because this is humanity. We need to see more of this. See, like I'm welling up right now because I'm thinking about like all the opportunities that I lost as a kid just because I was afraid to show my vulnerability. But I couldn't back then because it would have just been pounced on by bullies and
Right.
people who didn't understand. But we've got to not be afraid to show our vulnerability to people. And the world's just more welcoming of it now. I'm so appreciative of that. And I'm grateful for opportunities like this where we can help each other.
Yeah.
I got my new mic set up and my new headphones, and I'm exploring the world of voiceover, which I love as well because my grandfather was in radio.
Right. And I'm just now starting this. So
Yeah.
you're about, I think you're my fourth guest. My fourth guest.
Well, it's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you. I can say the same, definitely. So what would be a dream role for you?
Well, a dream role would be in a feature film.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean I think that's down the road a little bit. Obviously,
You'll get there.
yeah, there's so many opportunities here in LA to work on independent film, feature film, and they're just endless. I'm so many auditions per week that I get. I'm working on trying to secure some kind of guest starring role. I do have one in the works. The pandemic has just created a shitstorm for everybody.
Yeah.
Over the last 2 years, and I was cast in a lot of stuff that just got either put on hold or it's been permanently waylaid. I'm going to be appearing as a guest star in a couple of things this year. A series called Insecure Men.
A lot of those going around.
Yeah, but that should be in the works soon. And then another movie that actually just got changed from a short film to a feature film, which I'm still excited about working on, called Inner Child. Natalie Rodriguez is the director, writer of that, and she's done a lot of great work and received a lot of awards.
Wow.
So, yeah, but I've been waiting for these projects like a year, 2 years, and we're just hanging in there with these other creative people who just want their projects to get produced. And a lot of people left LA during the pandemic.
Why do you think that was? Do you have any idea?
They couldn't survive out here. They had situations where the rent is just crazy, wicked high out here, and you've got to be able to make a living for yourself. And I've been, over the past years of my life, I've learned how to be a cockroach. You know how cockroaches survive?
Yeah, through
any way they can.
Yeah.
And people are like, ew, why are you referring yourself as a cockroach?
I love that.
Because you just do what it takes. So I've learned how to make a living 27 different ways.
Nice. That is very good. Yeah, I've wanted to live in California, not even excuse me. Doesn't even have to be LA, but I've wanted to live in California, but you're right, the rent is just so steep down there.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to hear all these projects seem to be, coming your way. And I'm sure you're going to get a lot more. You're very talented. You're so talented.
Thank you.
And to move on to a bit more of a lighter thing, is there any funny occurrences or that you've seen on set that you've been on?
Yeah, there actually are quite a few. I'll tell you about the ones. I'll tell you what, have me back, and I'll tell you after May. I will tell you another one, but because
Okay.
I can't talk about it right now, but
Okay.
I can tell you this one later. But I'll tell you a couple of funny ones. One of the first projects I worked on was a series called Dirty John with
Name that.
Amanda
I've seen.
Amanda Peet and Christian Slater. And I was doing a scene with I was just doing background work at the time. I just arrived. It was the first month I had arrived, and I was in the scene and just sitting at this table in the Biltmore Hotel. So it was a dining scene, and all of a sudden, and I knew who was working on the project, so I just hadn't seen this other star. And I was sitting there talking to my scene mate, and you basically you pantomime, and so my back was to who was being filmed, and all of a sudden we're in the scene, and I hear the voice of Christian Slater, and he's no more than like 3 feet behind me, and I'm just like, and I'm on camera. Oh, well, my back is. So
Right.
I could have been making faces, but I'm the consummate professional. So I'm just trying to, keep my composure, and I'm just kind of giggling inside because I hear his voice, but I cannot turn around and look because that would be totally out of character. And so we're trying to be patient and get through the scene so that I can ultimately turn around and look and to confirm, match the face with the voice. And it didn't happen until we were actually finished filming the scene. And so I get up and turn around, and everybody's kind of walking out and milling out of the scene. And Christian Slater gets up, and he turns around, and he's getting ready to leave, and he looks up, and I tell you, he's not more than like 3 feet away from me. And he looks over at me, and he goes,
God.
he just winks at me.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh, turn into a schoolgirl. But I don't normally fangirl, but it's like, what the heck?
Wow, I can't seriously, wow. Oh my God.
Okay, and the other one, the other quick one was really super funny. I was working on a series called The Old Man, which hasn't been released yet. It's starring Jeff Bridges,
Oh.
Amy Brenneman, and John Lithgow. And I was working on a scene I think it was a bus station with John Lithgow. And I had in this scene, I had the job of, I was coming down an escalator, and then they would call cut. And I was literally, I think, the only person coming down the escalator. And so to reset for the scene, to start over again, I had to keep running to the elevator, going back up the elevator to get back in place so that I could come down this escalator.
Wow.
So one time in between takes, I ran from the escalator when they said cut and they said reset to the elevator, and I'm waiting for the elevator and it's not coming. And all of a sudden I see John Lithgow on the floor, flat on his back, looking like he's dead. And I'm like, and nobody else could see him. He's in this little corner or whatever.
Right.
And I'm waiting for the elevator, and I'm just looking at him, and I'm like, is he okay? What's going on there?
Oh.
He was just chilling between takes.
Oh my,
I'm like,
I would have had a heart attack. I would have freaked out.
I'm just like, I'm here rushing, and
Right.
he's not even back in place yet. He's like just chillaxing. So that was kind of funny, but I've got an even funnier one, but I have to wait to tell you.
And I'm looking forward to that for sure. Wow. I was also interested to know, what did you think about, first of all, do you follow the Oscars at all?
Um, I do. I mean, a little bit. I didn't really watch it. I did see I'm guessing I know what you would like some perspective on from my perspective. Um, and I was a little bit vocal on, I think, Facebook about my perspective, and I probably will get teary-eyed when I talk about this again, but um, first of all, I don't think that we as human beings have any place making judgment about either side. Maybe it's fun for people to comment on, it's their form of entertainment,
Of course.
but clearly there was a lot going on in people's heads
Mm.
between the three of the people that interaction happened with. Um, you know, my personal opinion is that on a topic that you're roasting somebody about, they deserve a heads up.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
so if there wasn't a heads up given, and no pun intended about that, all respect to the person who was the butt of that joke. She deserved to know that that was going to happen and been given the prerogative of leaving the room or saying, I would appreciate you not doing that. Although I think, people should have a good sense of humor about themselves, and but I just don't think that is an issue, because it's an issue that I deal with as well as she does. I don't think that's something to make fun of, because you can deal with the fallout from that. Another pun unintended. You can deal with that for the rest of your life, and I have dealt with people bringing that to public, but the whole world got to see that, and she has to deal with that for the rest of her life. The other thing is that the person who is married to her, having to be in a situation where
so tricky.
He's had so much, I think, mental instability, and I don't belittle what he's going through at all, and I don't mean that he's mentally unstable. I just meant that he's had so much emotionally to deal with. And people sometimes have these heartless responses where, he's a star, he should just have to deal with that, or
not be human.
Right. And I mean, can you imagine your significant other has just been made fun of for a situation that they can't control, and that it's going to affect them, but also you're dealing with husband and wife dynamics that don't have any public, any business being in the public. Right. I mean, his mind must have been exploding,
going in a million different directions at once, most likely.
And I'm sure, like, how many of us have had to cope with that on international television, and none of us. So we can't really have an opinion about how someone should behave or shouldn't behave.
Right.
It happened.
Right. It kind of all goes back to that saying of, I would do this in this situation. It's no, you would like to think that's what you would do. You actually don't know, because you haven't been in that situation.
And I'm all for accountability. And I think my dog is barking.
That's all good. That's all good.
Hold on a quick second. Thank you. I'm all for accountability. I think that it's, he did take responsibility for his action. And I think that is called for. I think There needs it was a rude awakening to the world that mental health is real.
Yeah.
The need for mental health support is real, and that and you know what? Also, what's happening today and yesterday, and I don't know when it started, the hearings for our our fellow compatriot in acting, Mr. Johnny Depp, he's dealing with his life being put out for public consumption. How unfortunate that
Yeah.
it's live televised, that all of his dirty laundry has to be out there for the world to see. That's kind of heartbreaking that that has to be that way. But if anything, it should bring to light the need for counseling, for
Yes.
compassion, for family counseling, for people to have more understanding of each other's frailties.
Yes.
And
That's kind of what I love about acting, to be quite honest, is the empathic part of it. You have to understand where someone's coming from. You have to understand and feel and acknowledge all these things that we should be doing with everyone all the time, in my opinion. Hard to
Mhm.
do, of course, in certain situations, but do your best to understand the other side. Do your best to understand someone. I've always been interested in the human psyche. And to me, for me, that's what acting is really all about, you know? And when I'm watching a performance, even if I know the person or I've seen them in a lot of things, I don't see them as who they really are, no matter what. Unless they're really, really bad. But I see them as that character, and I get involved so much so that I almost, while watching movies, start thinking like that character
Mm.
and being like, okay, yeah, that's why he did this, or that's why she did that. You're right, compassion and understanding, that is that needs to be taught so much better and learned so much more.
It's really a matter of empathy, and they say
Yeah.
that a lot of really great actors have a high empathy level, or high level of empathy. Um, it's, I think, that what goes along with empathy is having a high level of self awareness, self-adjusting, not over analyzing oneself, but also an awareness of others, an keen ability to um, have others' well-being on your radar, have their reactions, and being responsive to others. So, and then, so I think what you're catching is you have a, when you see somebody that you kind of um, affiliate with on screen, it's a relatability. And being a relator is also a strength. It's very closely aligned with being empathetic. But relating, if an actor does a really good job, you will be able to relate in some way. It might not be that exact situation, but you will recall something, and you don't. It's subconscious.
Of
A
course.
lot of the times, you're like, you might, as you're sitting there, just, oh, that was like when I was 7. Oh, yeah,
I've
that
had
that
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 happen.
that
Yeah.
interaction,
Afterwards. Yeah. I
that
think
person rubbed me that way, it's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm getting that vibe from
definitely,
that."
definitely. Um, and then just a few quick quick fire questions.
Sure.
What did you think of the Best Actress race this year for Oscars?
Um, to be honest,
Yeah.
I really haven't paid that close attention. Um, so I'm like, I know that sounds weird being in this business, but, because I don't really focus on the awards so much as I do the projects. So
That makes sense. That makes sense.
if there are any projects that were nominated, or actors that were nominated, I could talk about those specific actors.
Oh,
Like, bring up a couple of actresses that
have
you thought,
that I thought.
yeah, that were impactful to you.
Okay, well, I mean, this year, for example, the winner of Best Actress was Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Okay.
I adored that performance and that film. I thought it
Yes.
was very well a very good performance, very well made. It wasn't a caricature, uh,
Right.
which it's a fine line for an actor. I can realize how hard that must be to do it justice, play a real person, and make it believable versus just being, almost an SNL skit.
Yeah, I almost did not want to watch that at first, because having lived through that time period,
Right.
um, I felt like, what else could we possibly want to know about that situation? And then I just found myself being drawn into it, and because of her, and I saw a whole different side. Um, and obviously, there is a slant on it that's slanted by whoever wrote it, and what input they had. But I felt like there was an authenticity and a humanness that was brought to it, by her, that I hadn't wanted to see. So
That makes sense. That makes sense. And then I think I've told you this before, but my favorite actress, well, I've got two. They would be Jennifer Lawrence, and Cate Blanchett.
okay.
What are your opinions on those, or like what roles have you seen from them? Um, yeah, I mean Jennifer Lawrence is a bit of a controversial one, but only because she became the it girl, and then of course everyone wanted to tear her down because that's what society does to women,
Mhm.
way more than men. It's ridiculous. Um, and then Kate Blanchett, I feel she's just, I don't think anyone can complain about her, but of course, each to their own opinion. But so, what do you think regarding
Yeah.
those two actresses, or
Um,
a performance by either of them that you liked, disliked, whatever? One.
I can't put my finger on anything specifically. I can say Kate Blanchett, very versatile,
Yes.
and I probably would more closely affiliate, on her level than I would with Jennifer Lawrence, considering Jennifer Lawrence is so much younger than I am,
Right.
and we just, I don't relate to, I don't know, as much, I guess, because I don't get those kind of role opportunities. And I don't analyze myself, and I don't put myself in those roles as much.
That makes sense.
Um, but I'm both fantastic actors, actresses. I tend to prefer to call actresses actors.
So do I.
I think we're
So
all
do I.
actors, so I don't even like to refer to myself as. I mean, I'll hashtag myself as actress every
Right.
now and again, just to get the to get the traction there.
I,
But I prefer actor.
I agree. I hardly ever say actress. I usually say actor. I only say actress to clarify if someone I'm talking to is understanding what I mean when
Yeah,
who's your
I feel
favorite actor, and they go and name a male. I'm like, no, sorry, I meant actress.
I feel like, women as humans aren't called humana or persona.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, to me, it's a generic genderless term that doesn't need a gender identification put
Right.
on it.
I
And
get it. Sorry to interrupt.
that's okay.
But I get it for the award ceremonies, right? I get it there because it's like, okay, if you just had one long list, unless you allowed two winners,
I personally wouldn't mind if there was just one actor category. I don't know. I really don't give a rip about delineating.
okay,
Uh,
okay.
I don't. An actor is an actor is an actor, whether they're this gender, that gender, or whatever gender. I'd like us all to be, um, not broken down and divided.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. Is there anything else that you would like to say? Any stories? Anything you'd like as a last minute addition? And it can be however long or short as you'd like.
Well, I want to come back to how we met, and
Okay.
as a kind of a poster story for the world, because I think it's really, really important. And I don't know if you remember exactly, but I do remember very vividly. Um, and it won't paint you in a bad light. It actually paints the world in a horrible light, and it should be a cautionary tale.
I think I
But
remember. I think.
and I will be I'm going to be brutally honest about some things, but we met in a forum, in a local forum,
Yes.
um, and I very much align with you in that I'm a very sensitive person about my own physical and emotional well-being,
Mhm.
and I think you are too.
Yes.
And
For sure.
you were reaching out for information and basically being
Mm,
bullied by people online, and you didn't deserve to be treated like that.
thank
And you were trying to stand up for yourself. And we didn't know each other at the time, but being in such a small community, it was very easy um, to be seen and heard in such a forum. It's kind of like everybody sticks out like a sore thumb because everybody knows each other's business,
right.
whether that's right or not. But
Small town.
yeah, but I very much, over time, just talking to you and us relating with each other, I just felt like I wanted to meet you eventually. And we happened to run into each other
I
at a
remember.
store,
I
at a
remember that.
store. And I was like, oh my gosh, I finally get to meet
I
you.
remember that, and we hugged. We hugged.
Yeah, and it was like weird and awkward and lovely at the same time.
It was.
And that's kind of like, I think, how a lot of my friendships form, is that not it's the whole concept of improv is embrace the awkward, embrace the unexpected, the uncontrollable, the unplanned, and just say yes. And it's a part of life that if you fight against leaning into things, life is going to be harder. It's like fighting the wind, or walking against the wind and resisting change and life opportunities. So, and I just so appreciated you staying connected and wanting both of us to continue growing
Yes.
as human beings, and learning about each other, and growing professionally, and learning something about I what I so appreciate about you is your tenacity and your writing. Something that I have, I write, but you you go after it with like this vigor, this energy that me in my old age, I've 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 I somehow have lost some of that drive to write. And every time you come at me with like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? I'm just like, oh wow.
Well, thank
Wow.
you. Thank you.
Wow. It's
Thanks.
just, yeah, I love that you keep at it, and you are constantly growing as a writer, and you're not giving up, and you're
Yes.
exploring those aspects of yourself that you should explore fearlessly, and not let the world knock you down.
Thank you. And the same could be said to you about acting.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you so much for being on my podcast channel, Bipolar Afterthoughts. I'm sorry about the awkwardness. You don't intimidate me per se. I'm in awe of you. Really,
Oh,
truly.
well, likewise.
Thank you. I hope that you have a good day.
You too.
Hmm.